I'm going to call the meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee of the FFRB Council to order at 9:33. Roll call, Mr. Correo. Here. Ms. Ida here. And the Vice Chair, myself, and Sigala is here. So we do have a quorum of the committee. There aren't any minutes. There hasn't been a committee meeting in a couple of months, so there aren't been current minutes at this point. Members, just to give you an update, the board reduced the number of, approved the reduction of the number of committee members from 7 to 5. And so the composition of the committee is 3 board members and 2 stakeholders. And so that was approved in order for us to try to be a little more efficient in terms of meetings and moving things forward through this actual committee. And so there's one vacancy for a stakeholder that is available. One of the responsibilities of the neighborhood council president that has been given to him, I guess in this case myself, has been the appointment of vacancies for various committees ranging from stakeholders to board members. And so since we have a vacancy on this committee, there had been the nomination of one of our community stakeholders who has been here for many meetings and has been active in the community on a number of different levels, including always working to safeguard taxpayer dollars like we do on this committee to make sure that they're appropriately spent. And given that, I wanted to, at this point, share with you that I will be appointing a new stakeholder this morning with the intent and the hope that there is a collaboration, that there is a sense of duty in terms of working on this committee with folks. Obviously, we don't all anticipate agreeing with each other, but we do anticipate us being respectful and working for the greater good. And it was my intent that that would be the case with all of us that serve on this committee. If that's otherwise, then we'll have to revisit the issue. But given that, I just wanted to ask Ms. Talalla if she is still interested in serving on the committee as a stakeholder, so therefore I could appoint her to serve.
Thank you very much. I have emailed you and indicated my continued interest in that position as a stakeholder and serving the community. I also await approval of my appointment by you from the board of GEPENC and will serve after approval from the board. Thank you very much.
Just a reminder, the board has no process in approving. It's entirely the president's purview. So the board does not approve vacancy appointments. It is the purview of the president. So that is in the bylaws, that is in the rules. So if you'd like to serve, we'll appoint you. If you want to hold off, that's fine. But the board has no ratification on this appointment.
I would like, thank you very much for that information. I would like this. I will certainly speak from the floor as a stakeholder today and comment and serve the community. I will also like this matter to be presented to the board, as I believe there was an objection at the last board meeting, and I think it needs some further discussion perhaps. But I do thank you for considering my application, and I certainly do look forward to sharing my knowledge. Thank you.
Just again, the board has nothing to do with the appointment, so it will not be agendized on the board agenda. It is purview of the president of the board to fill vacancies of committee members, both stakeholders and board members. So I would request that you consider it because there are other folks who have contacted me about serving on this committee. Well, given that, then we will hold off on the appointment, and we have due quorum. We do have quorum, so we'll move forward with the committee business. Next is public comments from the board on non-agenda items within the committee's jurisdiction. We provide 2 minutes for items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody who'd like to provide public comments on non-agenda items? Yes, Ms.
Well, I don't know if it's been agendized or not, but I commend you for the acceptance of the application of Ida Talalla. I am very aware that it's been a bumpy relationship, but her overall understanding of the issue, she will be quite a contributor to this committee. So thank you, and I don't know why you can't begin to serve now and start filling in the body of this committee.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, public comment be closed. Members are going to move on to the agenda portion, or action portion of our agenda. We do have someone here for Rich LA, and there has been sort of the well. First of all, let me explain. Mr. Moreno is not here today; he's on vacation, so I will be chairing the committee as the vice chair. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a reduction of committee members, so we do have the 3 required quorum, and so we're going to move forward with the business. Members, as has been our practice in the past, as we've pretty much have gone through items. First, we have a speaker or presentation. Today we have Shauna?
Shauna, yes.
Shauna, who is here on behalf of Enrich LA. This matter falls under item number 10 on our agenda, which is a discussion and or possible question for the committee to request board approval for the reallocation of neighborhood council funds not expended into the appropriate line item categories of outreach and public improvement. This is a new project that was brought to our attention a few weeks ago. I know Mr. Moreno has been working with Mr. O'Grady to try to agendize it, and both Mr. Moreno and Mr. O'Grady are not here for different purposes. So we're going to try our best to go through it and then discuss it and see what the committee thinks. So then if there's no objection, we'll move to item number 10. So Sean, if you could just kind of go over the overview. There is a handout with some information on a specific proposal. And so we can go ahead and just present what you guys are looking for, and then we'll see if there's any questions.
Sure. Should I stand here? Or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Like you said, my name is Shauna. I'm from Enrich LA. We build gardens in schools. We believe in a garden in every school. So currently we have 21 gardens that we've built within the last year, and we already have 22 that are in the pipeline for this coming year. So we're very busy. That's why Mr. O'Grady isn't here this morning. He's actually at a garden build. So basically what we believe is that the school gardens encourage healthy eating habits. They promote a sense of community within the school and draw community members into the school to be a part of what's going on. They really encourage improved morale of the school, and obviously they beautify the aesthetic. And what this project is an edible garden at Clifford Elementary School. It's off of Glendale Boulevard. And what we're going to do there is we'll be building a new sprinkler system, herb beds, an outdoor kitchen, pavers, trellis, raised vegetable beds, picnic tables, and a new drip line sprinklers to shrubs and trees. What we found is that a lot of edible gardens fail because there's not proper sprinkler system. So that's why we install a drip system in all of our gardens. Like I said, we build an outdoor kitchen, which is complete with running water, a sink, a prep area where our garden stewards come in once a week and teach classes with the kids on how to prepare what they've grown in the garden. So it's really an exciting project. Like I said, we've done this at 21 other schools, so it's really exciting to get one over at Clifford. We have approval from the principal, from LAUSD facilities, and then also Eric Garcetti has committed to removing 2,000 square feet of asphalt for the garden site. So.
Great. Any public comments on item number 10? Yes, Ms. Mason.
Yeah, well, this is really marvelous. You have a community that's very supportive. As part of what you do, could you encourage as well that LAUSD provide really healthy lunches? This has been a problem because I belong to that organization that was always, pushing for the elimination of the soft drinks and also to bring in healthy food, which was adopted, on paper, but not implemented.
Right.
So there's quite a connection here, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's a process that will take shape because we have seen students thrilled about eating beets and cabbage. And a lot of times people don't believe that kids will like fresh fruits and vegetables. So by showing, the school, the principals, and the students that they can really love these fresh foods, I think that will transform what they see as available for lunches.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's do any other public comment. And seeing none, public comment be closed. Is there any questions from committee members at this point?
So how much are you requesting?
We're requesting $46.50, and that will be for the complete garden.
You have a project breakdown, cost breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so the soils, who does the soils test?
LAUSD normally does the soils test for us.
And they're providing the funding for that?
I'm not exactly sure if they're providing the funding for that.
It seems to be here, it says here, source of funding, LAUSD soils test, so that must be, the soils test cost $3,215 materials.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what they mean by, why is it so expensive, the materials itself?
To be honest, I'm not sure why the soils test costs so much. Obviously, it's required to make sure there's no arsenic in the soil.
I do understand, yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of what that process entails and why it's so pricey,
You can take random samples,
Mhm.
if it's, 4,000 square feet.
right.
You're not, so I just don't understand why it's.
Yeah. If LAUSD is not providing that to us cost-free, then that's something that we would be getting from an outside source. The $46.50 from you guys would be for the plants, the sprinklers, the fence, raised beds. Like I said, Eric Garcetti has committed to doing the asphalt removal, so that's not included in that $46.50 as well.
Yeah, any questions? I had a couple minutes here. Okay, so in regards to that, well, let me just kind of break it down. So I have a budget here, and the soils test is an important part of the project.
Right.
You can't build on it with there's issues with the soil. And so that first step needs to be, funding needs to be identified for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I know the school district is going through a lot of budgetary issues, so I'm not sure if they have the in-house staff to do that or they contract that out, someone's got to pay for that, if it's unified.
Mm-hmm.
Second, although the councilman's office is willing to do the asphalt concrete removal, there's still a lot of LAUSDs involved with permits, with a number of things that are required. I mean, we just built a reading garden at Clifford a couple of weeks ago. We just did a reading garden. Obviously, we did it above the asphalt. We talked about removing the asphalt and how big of a task it was. And that was only a space about the size of this room.
Right.
So I can imagine a bigger space is even a humongous task. And so you need construction, you need engineering. I mean, this becomes a bureaucratic concern. So that's another concern that I see. And then in regards to the possible source of funding, we still have the LAUSD that's outstanding. Obviously, the councilman's office is committed to that. I see that Clifford Elementary has some money. Is that That, and then the PTO, is there a reason why they aren't involved in this financially?
Let's see.
If I'm reading that correctly, there's PTO is missing.
Right, it says Clifford Elementary PTO 4,200.
Oh, okay.
Does that say what?
Yeah, because ours is
It's not
blank.
here, it's blank.
Oh, would you mind if I see yours?
Okay.
Okay. That's what mine says, so it must be something that's in the works right now. Basically, with every garden that we've done, we do require a commitment from the school to provide funding. In addition, we reach out to the neighborhood councils to help us in these programs. Everything else that we get, we do reach out to community members. We do a lot of fundraising. We actually are doing a second Saturday's dinner series to raise money for this as well. So in terms of funding for those things, it will get done. And if
In terms of that, well, on that particular issue, where does Enrich LA come from? So mostly the labor is what you donate, or is it financial donation?
it's all of the above. We're a primarily volunteer-run organization. I'm here as a volunteer. Our garden builds are entirely, forced by volunteers. That's what's going on today.
Right.
We round up sometimes over 100 volunteers from the community, along with Disney volunteers, Fox Gives, and Whole Foods that come in and help us transform these gardens. So fundraising that we do, we're having a 5% day at the Glendale Whole Foods store. And that means that 5% of everything that they sell will be going to Enrich LA. So any money that Enrich LA gets, we don't have a paid staff. Our garden stewards do get a tiny stipend for their weekly visits to the school. But any fundraising that we do, it all goes into these gardens.
Well, and the reason I bring
I see that you help maintain the gardens. And
Yes.
also the stewards, garden stewards. How many hours a week do this? Is there, for this size of a garden, how many hours a week would a steward, stewardship, how many stewardship hours would be required per week in a garden this size?
In terms of a garden steward that gets a stipend, they would be there for about 4 hours each week. And then we also have volunteers that come in and help.
Yeah, I'm counting the whole volunteers plus the pay. How many hours of garden stewardship would be required per week?
4 per week.
That's all? I thought you said volunteers could come in too.
Well,
In addition.
4 per each volunteer.
But the total necessary to maintain, because you're right. They need, these gardens need to be, supervised and given tender loving care.
Right.
And you can't rely on the students to do all of that.
Right. But the garden stewards are really only there 1 day a week. And that's when they teach their garden class. So that's for 4 hours. And then that 4 hours for a garden this size, so they differ. And that's when they have, let's say, 5 different classes coming through and participating in their garden program. And then obviously the garden is open for the students and the staff to utilize and enjoy throughout the week. But they're really only there once a week.
I had a couple of questions. In terms of the location, I'm trying to visualize. I see an aerial of the school. And then I see the schematic, but it doesn't really size up for me. On your handout, you have a site of new garden circled, but then you also have proposed garden on the bigger playground. Do you know where exactly? Because I guess because I see this particular schematic and it's pretty impressive. A 50 by 25 foot area, or a little bit less than that, but it's pretty so big. I'm just trying to figure out if it'll overtake any of the playground space.
I think it's just the circled proposed area right there.
That red one?
Yes.
Because I just want to make sure that it's hard enough for kids to get on and move around. And
Yeah, right.
That might be an issue.
Normally, when we remove any asphalt, it's from areas of the school that aren't really being utilized. So obviously, this is still a fairly large playground area, but this would be transformed into the school garden. And that's actually also a physical activity for children to partake in. Anybody who's worked in a garden knows it's not easy.
So, what we have then, members, is a request for $46.50. Unfortunately, our budget's not that big. I mean, you're coming to us towards the end of our fiscal year. Well, that leads to the other question. What is the anticipated schedule for the garden?
I'm actually not sure when we have this garden built. Let's see.
Well, just because, like I said, we have a budget that we put together back in May that we've been working hard to make sure we follow through on our commitments and get the money out. We have a deadline of May 15th to get demand warrants and June 15th to use a purchase card. We just finished doing a garden there, a little reading garden. We're going to be, as part of a grant that we matched with Garcetti's office, so we're going to be buying them some benches as part of that process as well. So we spent about $500 on pots and plants and vegetables and to be able to get it going. And at this point, I'm not sure where in our budget we might be able to find that much money. We probably could try to find a bit of money to help out. But again, I'm not sure what the future process is by when or when you anticipate doing this.
I could probably check if you wouldn't mind giving me a moment to see when we actually have the garden build scheduled.
Sure. Okay, that'd be great. All right, members. So, Shauna, what's your last name?
Bays.
Excuse me?
Bays. B-A-I-Z.
Oh. Okay. Then what we'll do, members, is we'll come back to this item in a few minutes. But let's go through the agenda and then have Shauna have an opportunity. Okay, the first item on our agenda is number 1, which is a discussion and a possible action for the committee to request the board approve the allocation of funds in the amount of $500 for the neighborhood council's participation in the trailer trashes. That's the name of the Woody Guthrie 100-year birthday celebration in Apple Park in July 2012, as stated in the 2012-2010 line item, which is our general outreach fund line item. I know the lady was here for the board meeting, but I'm not sure she's going to be here tonight. But anyways, so that's an item. Is there a motion to move that for discussion? Ms. Diago, Rosenthal, second by Mr. Torero. Is there any public comment on item number 1? Yes, Mr. Talalla.
I've been looking, good morning. I've been looking at the agenda and all of these items, and all that the public or the stakeholders have been given is just this sheet of paper, which is the agenda is written on. There is no budget, no description, or just exactly which account these funds will come and where we are on the budget, because certain projects have not taken place. And I really think that makes decision-making difficult because you're not seeing anything. And you're really going on good faith. And going on good faith in a matter regarding compliance requirements requires that you have it in advance. And I bring to your attention the item that is coming up, number 9, AAA tents. It is several months.
Number 1, so
I know, where no information was garnered, and you're still trying to pick it up, but you've paid your bill. So I'm asking, why isn't there information?
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, public comment closed. Members, this is an item that was presented at the board by, I can't remember her name, Lydia Brain, who had come forward and shared with her the fact that they were going to be honoring Woody Guthrie 100-year celebration, and for some time he lived in Echo Park. This morning I read that the City of Los Angeles City Council is going to name a portion of downtown as a Woody Guthrie Square in July, so it's probably part of his overall effort. We're one component of this process. And yes, the only thing that I have is just the agenda that Mr. Moreno forwarded in terms of some of the items to put on there. But part of the committee work is to kind of discuss this and flesh out details, flesh out what we need, and then bring it to the board for their consideration. As far as I understand it, they would like for us to be a sponsor or participatory party in this event somewhere here in Echo Park. The $500 is being recommended is for the general support of the event, whether it's helping them with flyers, whether it's helping them with refreshments, or whether it's helping them with renting equipment, whatever may come out of that process. And so I think what we can do is a couple of things. We can move forward and here define what that contribution will be supportive of. We can wait for Ms. Breen. I'd actually be here this morning to see what specifically she would want. But I think nonetheless, it's a good opportunity for us to participate in an event that's going to get a lot of press. It's going to get a lot of participation from a lot of community folks. And what it is, it's going to be, the Trailer Trash brings an actual trailer that serves as a stage, as an opportunity to share things about Woody Guthrie and his life and the impact he's made on a lot of different causes throughout his life, everything from the deportation of Mexican Americans in the 20s and 30s to issues about Americanism and a number of things that he has stood up for and discussed. So that's sort of my understanding of what the project is about, is to honor his life. We lived here in Echo Park for a brief time on Preston. I think he lived maybe a year and a half, 2 years. But nonetheless, they believe Echo Park is significant enough area for them to do an event. And so that's what this item is for. So I have no problem supporting the event with just general funding to just be a co-sponsor or participant of the event. Yes?
I want to follow up on Ida's point, and I agree. I think I raised this question, when I joined this committee 3 years ago, whenever that was. It does feel like this committee simply rubber stamps what the board has already approved. We're going over something that was decisions that were made by the board, where I believe the board would have had, the presentation, and this involves all of the items here, in fact. The board has made these decisions to fund these projects, and then it comes to our committee for what? It's just like, to me, that's why we're supposed to rubber stamp it.
Well, just FYI, this is a new project, so it's not on, the board hasn't approved this one at all.
The number one
The number
hasn't
one.
been approved yet?
It's a new project that's brought forward.
It says, oh,
No, what it is, it refers to the line item where the money would come from. And that line item is just a general fund that we have. So it's not, the general fund doesn't have any.
so it's in the process of the year during the year.
Right.
The reallocation, the redirection of
Well, not
funds
necessarily.
come back to us.
Well, this is not a real, at the beginning of the year, the board adopted a budget and put money in the general fund, not knowing in May that this item would come in April. Said, well, let's set aside some money, so maybe there's a great project
How
that
much
comes.
is the general fund?
The general fund started off with $4,500. So over the last, since July, it's been tapped into. So there is enough money, at least for the 500. But what it is back then we anticipated to set aside money for, like in Rich LA, there are public works issues.
That's not general fund.
No, it's well, when I talk about general fund, there's line items like the parade and the art walk and national night out that were specifically funded, but then we set aside money in general pool so that down the road if a project came forward that we didn't know about in May, we can consider it
But
funded.
I think her point is well taken.
Yeah.
That that should be presented sort of, I know it's a lot of work, it's bureaucratic stuff, but then what is my role here? To approve something on the basis of, verbal explanation from you, which I appreciate. But there's nothing, in writing. And so we are really subject to some legitimate criticism.
Here's what we're doing. Like I said, I anticipated Ms. Breen to be here to talk about it specifically, in terms of what chief of funding could be helpful for. Obviously, she's not here, so that piece is missing. But I think
therefore, we can't act on it.
well, we could, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's up to the committee and whatever they want to do. There's a couple of things here that, I don't have any paperwork for, other than just an agenda item. I think the committee's role is always try to flush things out and try to put some direction to the board in terms of what the recommendation is. But if there's, a sense of continuing item, that's fine. But I think there's enough of understanding what to move forward, and if there's a stipulation that something be brought forward to the board, then definitely that's going to be helpful to them.
Because after here, then we will take this taken off and voted on by the board.
Well, technically it goes to the executive committee. They kind of, their job is to frame the agenda, so then if there's questions they put out there, and then
Or else they can just take our recommendation.
exactly, just move it forward. So that's the process. So usually it goes through a policy committee, then it goes to the executive because they're in charge of putting on the agenda, and then it goes to the board.
But that puts us in a real, important position to really make a decision with adequate information.
Right. No, yeah.
That can really.
Here's Ms. Breen now. All right. We're actually talking about your issue right now. So let me bring you up to speed. We're discussing the request to participate with you on the Woody Guthrie 100-year celebration. Congratulations on the city council is going to name part of downtown.
Yes, I was there yesterday.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. What we're talking about is I agendize and I'm requesting the committee to recommend to the board that we set aside $500 from the Neighborhood Council's General Outreach Fund to work with you on this event. And so we're trying to discuss what that funding would be for. And I shared with the committee that in discussions you and I've had, the money could help just in general with the event, it could help with refreshments, it could help with flyers, it could help with equipment. So one of the discussions we're having is, since we don't have anything in writing, but since I'm glad you do, is the discussion as to how it will work out. But I was also mentioning to the committee that part of our job is to flush those things out, and just because we may not have the necessary written materials, we still can move forward with different types of things. So then you walk in, and it's very helpful to join the conversation and let us know. So just so you know, we're considering doing a $500 participation / sponsorship. So if you can maybe elaborate more how that might be able to help you with your event.
Okay, thank you. Should I give?
Yeah, if you want to hand something out to the committee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming by.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. And shall I give to the?
Yeah, you can put some up in the for the.
I have extra school.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for your proposal to possibly help us. There are a number of different ways that you all can help. I think the number one way, the first would be to help with a location, and I think that the other committee will help with that, and a date. One idea I had was, well, there are different components of this event. One is we would like to have a concert with musicians who have been inspired by Woody, but all different kinds of music, and with local musicians and also musicians from outside of the neighborhood, anyone who has been inspired by Woody. So there would be the concert, there would be an exhibit, and in the exhibit we would look at Woody's life in Echo Park and his interests, and some of the people who also lived in Echo Park at the time who inspired him and helped him. At the time he was here, he was going out in the fields, the agricultural fields, and learning about the conditions for workers there at the time. He was also looking at just conditions for workers and living conditions during the Great Depression. So there would be the concert, the exhibit, hopefully we could have some films, a picnic, and maybe a bike ride. So just really to have some fun, to try to be as spontaneous as we possibly can be. And so it's an opportunity to kind of learn about, one of Woody's main concerns was when he was here in Echo Park, he was learning about some of the issues of people of different backgrounds, different ethnicities and races. And he began not to just see the problems of his own people, the Okies, but of people in general. And so that would be a theme that we would have. I guess I'm talking too much. So I'm sorry.
That's helpful.
So the last thing would be if you all might be willing to help organize a picnic, either for people or for the kids, that would be great. I'm sorry if I talked too much.
So members, so what we have then is a couple of options. I think this is going to be a tremendous event. I think that it'll be well received. I know Ms. Bree's been talking to a number of folks, and we've been helping her out with contacts in the community. I think this is an event that will draw a lot of people. One of the things that has been talked about is to try to also do it at the same time as the Lotus Festival, which is going to take place July 14th and 15th right here in the parking lots. So the idea would be to set up either on the El Centro de Pueblo side or somewhere around where people will have the opportunity to not only visit the Lotus Festival, but also enjoy this event. So that's sort of the current schedule, is to have it around that weekend, if I'm correct. So given that, then I think it would be good for the neighborhood council to join this event, to support it, to do what we can to make it successful, and specifically perhaps help out with the picnic portion of it, maybe some flyers, and it'd be a good way for the neighborhood council to reach out to the stakeholders as well.
I'd like to say that, emotionally I really admire Woody Guthrie. He's certainly a hero, my own hero, and his contributions to our social fabric and to art. And so I support the participation in celebrating a great individual and social contributed greatly to our social fabric in America, with attention to the underserved and the underrepresented people at the margins of society. Before you came, though, I was saying I was concerned about being very careful about spending the money and what we decide to do with the little that we have. Because although I feel this way, a Tea Party member of the community would probably not agree with me in honoring Woody Guthrie. So I will put my neck on the line and say I support the $500 in celebration.
So we have members that what we do is we can designate the funding to help out with the picnic, to help reach out to stakeholders. and do some outreach, perhaps some flyers or something with the neighborhood council's logo as a support and whoever else you want to put on there. And I think that $500 will be well spent. Public works issues.
That's not general fund.
No, it's well, when I talk about general fund, there's line items like the parade and the art walk and national night out that were specifically funded, but then we set aside money in general pool so that down the road if a project came forward that we didn't know about in May, we can consider
But
funding.
I think her point is well taken.
Yeah.
That that should be presented sort of, I know it takes a lot of work, it's bureaucratic stuff, but then what is my role here? To approve something on the basis of, verbal explanation from you, which I appreciate. But there's nothing, in writing. And so we are really subject to some legitimate criticism.
Here's what we're doing. Like I said, I anticipated Ms. Breen to be here to talk about it specifically, in terms of what she thought the funding could be helpful for. Obviously, she's not here, so that piece is missing. But I think
therefore, we can't act on it.
well, we could, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's up to the committee, whatever they want to do. There's a couple of things here that, I don't have any paperwork for, other than just an agenda item. I think the committee's role is always try to flush things out and try to put some direction to the board in terms of what the recommendation is. But if there's, a sense of continuing item, that's fine. But I think there's enough of understanding what to move forward, and if there's a stipulation that something be brought forward to the board, then definitely that's going to be helpful to them.
Because after here, then we will take this taken out and voted on by the board.
Well, technically it goes to the executive committee. They kind of, their job is to frame the agenda, so then if there's questions they put out there, and then
Or else they can just take our recommendation.
exactly, just move it forward. So that's the process. So usually it goes through a policy committee, then it goes to the executive because they're in charge of putting it on the agenda, and then it goes to the board.
But that puts us in a real, important position to really make a decision with adequate information.
Right. No, yeah.
That can really.
Here's Ms. Breen now. All right. We're actually talking about your issue right now. So let me bring you up to speed. We're discussing the request to participate with you on the Woody Guthrie 100-year celebration. Congratulations on the city council going to name part of downtown.
Yes, I was there yesterday.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. What we're talking about is I agendize and I'm requesting the committee to recommend to the board that we set aside $500 from the neighborhood council's general outreach fund to work with you on this event. And so we're trying to discuss what that funding would be for. And I shared with the committee that in discussions you and I've had, the money could help just in general with the event. It could help with refreshments. It could help with flyers. It could help with equipment. So one of the discussions we're having is, since we don't have anything in writing, but since I'm glad you do, is the discussion as to how it will work out. But I was also mentioning to the committee that part of our job is to kind of flush those things out, and just because we may not have the necessary written materials, we still can move forward with different types of things. So then you walk in, and it's very helpful to join the conversation and let us know. So just so you know, we're considering doing a $500 participation / sponsorship. So if you can maybe elaborate more how that might be able to help you with your event.
Okay, thank you. Should I give?
Yeah, if you want to hand something out to the committee, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming by.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. And shall I give to the...
Yeah, you can put some out there for
kind of extra school.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for your proposal to possibly help us. there are a number of different ways that you all can help. I think the number one way, the first would be to help with a location, and I think the other committee will help with that and a date. One idea I had was, well, there are different components of this event. One is we would like to have a concert with musicians who have been inspired by Woody, but all different kinds of music, and with local musicians and also musicians from outside of the neighborhood, anyone who has been inspired by Woody. So there would be the concert, there would be an exhibit, and in the exhibit we would look at Woody's life in Echo Park and his interests, and some of the people who also lived in Echo Park at the time who inspired him and helped him. At the time he was here, he was going out in the fields, the agricultural fields, and learning about the conditions for workers there at the time. He was also looking at just conditions for workers and living conditions during the Great Depression. So there would be the concert, the exhibit. Hopefully we could have some films, a picnic, and maybe a bike ride. So just really to have some fun, to try to be as spontaneous as we possibly can be. And so it's an opportunity to kind of learn about, one of Woody's main concerns was when he was here in Echo Park, he was learning about some of the issues of people of different backgrounds, different ethnicities and races. And he began not to just see the problems of his own people, the Okies, but of people in general. And so that would be a theme that we would have. I guess I'm talking too much. So I'm sorry.
That's helpful.
So the last thing would be if you all might be willing to help organize a picnic, either for people or for the kids, that would be great. I'm sorry if I talked too much.
With that. So members, so what we have then is a couple of options. I think this is going to be a tremendous event. I think that it'll be well received. I know Ms. Reed's been talking to a number of folks, and we've been helping her out with contacts in the community. I think this is an event that will draw a lot of people. One of the things that has been talked about is to try to also do it at the same time as the Lotus Festival, which is going to take place July 14th and 15th right here in the parking lots. So the idea would be to set up either on the El Centro de Pueblo side or somewhere around where people will have the opportunity to not only visit the Lotus Festival, but also enjoy this event. So that's sort of the current schedule, is to have it around that weekend, if I'm correct. So given that, then I think it would be good for the neighborhood council to join this event, to support it, to do what we can to make it successful, and specifically perhaps help out with the picnic portion of it, maybe some flyers, and it'd be a good way for the neighborhood council to reach out to the stakeholders as well.
I'd like to say that emotionally, I really admire Woody Guthrie. He's certainly a hero, my own hero, and his contributions to our social fabric and to art. And so I support the participation in celebrating a great individual and social contributed greatly to our social fabric in America, with attention to the underserved and the underrepresented people at the margins of society. Before you came, though, I was saying I was concerned about being very careful about spending the money and what we decide to do with the little that we have. Because although I feel this way, a Tea Party member of the community would probably not agree with me in honoring Woody Guthrie. So I will put my neck on the line and say I support the $500 in celebration.
So we have members that what we do is we can designate the funding to help out with the picnic. to help reach out to stakeholders and do some outreach, perhaps some flyers or something with the neighborhood council's logo as a support and whoever else you want to put on there. And I think that $500 will be well spent, to support this event. So if there's no objection, then
Wait, could I make a public
we've
comment?
already had public comments. And we just get this through this committee stuff, and we've already had public comment appropriate. So there is a motion to discuss the $500. So if you guys don't object, then we'll designate it we'll recommend it to the board so that it's towards the picnic and the outreach. And then I'll work with Ms. Breen to be a little more specific, maybe $50 for the outreach, $450 for the picnic, or whatever combination we have. And that we will come back with a little more specifics in that particular discussion. So if you guys are okay, then we'll add that to the motion.
Yeah, I guess I would prefer that the $500 be used for flyers and equipment rather than food, because there's a real sensitivity to using our money for food. And so if it can be allocated to educating the public, flyers, also education.
Okay, well, that's one other suggestion. We've
and we can get donations for food.
Yes, so just so I just want to make clear, the use of food is not prohibited by the
I understand it is.
and we have been doing it for years.
I know that.
I mean, when we have cleanups, I feed the
I know
troops.
that, but people seem to think we're just making ourselves fat.
Well, that thinking, that's fine. So we'll put that as an option. Yes, Mr. Earl.
I want to agree with Ms. Rosenthal, but I would say also that, people, if we sit down here and listen to everything people say on both sides of the aisle, we'll never have anything done. This event is going to cost more than $500, definitely. I don't think putting a mark onto it to say use it for flyers. I usually want to trust, that's me, the person that presents the program for me, to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because I don't know if the flyers could cost $500, it could cost $1,000, it could cost this. I'd rather, because I read what is in about the event, I feel comfortable saying, here's my $500, put me as a sponsor, and whatever you desire to do with the $500, as long as you know me as a sponsor. Because the $500 maybe, it could be divided, freshman flyer, this and that, whatever. So I don't feel comfortable saying, earmarking it, unless I saw a breakdown budget. But because I don't see a breakdown budget, I will go along with, let's give them the $500. Make sure that it's mentioned that we are part, because we're not a sole participant. I feel comfortable with that, regardless of what the public wants to say, because I'm elected by the public, but I also serve those public that want to see the project done, and those naysayers that want to see it in another way. So what? I mean, if I was sitting down here every day, because I listen to it, I listen to it over and over. I listen to the issue of, you don't have a budget, you don't have this, you don't have that. Yet still in the public comments that you hear, they drive towards doing these events or doing these projects. I mean, so if you don't help crafting it, then why are you commenting against it? So for me today is, I see that this is a valid project. Where they're going to have it, whatever, I want to see the stamp that we are providing part of it. And I feel satisfied with giving $5, that's what we can afford. I wish I could give you $50,000 if the city of LA could give us that. I wish I could give Garden, English Garden, $100,000 for certain projects. I would like to give everyone that comes before this board something that shows that we want to be involved in the community. But guess what? We don't get that amount of money. We may get looks like, but we don't get that. And then you have those out there who wants us to spend all of it. If we took $30,000 and gave it to one project, what we do with the others? There's no money. So we have to give a little bit to every little area and be equitable with what we do. Damn if we do, damn if we don't. So at this time, I would just say, as presented, the $500, asking for our recognize us as one of the events.
Right, so what we have before is originally the motion was just to provide general support for the event. And as Ms. Churros recommending that we work with Ms. Breen and then provide the $500 support, participation, logo, and then work with her on the specifics that she would best see would be helpful. Because it is going to cost more than $500 and that. So that's before. So unless you want to do something else, Ms. Yeah, we would do that. You be okay with that? Okay, so then the motion we have before us is for the neighborhood council, for the committee to recommend to the board the participation of our neighborhood council this event in July and allocate $500 for the general support of the event. So is there any objection to doing that to the board? Okay, seeing none, then that would be the order. So it will be the recommendation to the board at the end of this month. Okay. All right, so that item has been dealt with. Did you get an answer, Sean, on yours?
Yes, absolutely.
We'll go back to number 10 here.
Yeah. So it looks like our garden build is set for Saturday, August 3rd. So we have committed to building this garden, of course, assuming the soil test comes back successful. Yeah, so that's, yeah.
When do you expect that soil, when do you expect the soil test to be done?
I can check with Tomas on that. I'm not exactly sure when they have it scheduled.
It's probably going to have to be, because it is a year-round school, so I would imagine in June they're going to be out, so anytime in the summer, definitely before August 3rd. Because I don't know how big of a disruption it is for the school. I do know that removing the asphalt would be a disruption.
Right, so, yeah, of course. So,
I would imagine it probably any time after the kids get out in June.
The question had to do with allocating for May, right?
Well, our option is we can make a recommendation today to allocate some money to help them. We're going to also talk today about beginning the process of setting up next year's budget, which begins after July 1st. We're going to find out in a couple of days what the mayor's intention is regarding the council funding. It goes everything from we're going to get $25,000 to maybe getting close to $40,000 again. So we don't know yet, and so that's another option. We could try to do something next year. But I do know there's a little bit of money, at least. I know it's not going to be all of it, but there's at least $500 that we could help out with towards this event. We do have a budget item here, or a budget list that we could probably maybe say, okay, it's going to cost $325 for the plants. It's going to cost, $550 for the seating benches, or $540, or we do have some options here that we can say, okay, $500 towards a particular line item. So that would be sort of a recommendation that we look at to the board. So if anybody wants to consider that,
because we obviously have a May deadline for this cycle, budget cycle.
Well, yeah, the way we would do this particular funding is, I would probably recommend we use a purchase cart. So let's say, for example, we have till June 15th to do that. So let's say, for example, the committee recommends that we allocate $500 towards buying soil, or the $580 to buy all the soil, right? So we can team up, like I did with the schools, go to Home Depot, buy all the soil, just use the cart. Mm-hmm. And then that, because you don't want to wait for a check, because a check will come next year. So that is one thing we can do. So given that, we may, $580 may be what we do to buy the soil. That may be a recommendation, but it's up to the committee to recommend to the board. So, but I do know we don't have $4,600 to help out at this point. So.
Obviously, anything, any support from you would be greatly appreciated. You know, we would include your logo on any signage that we do, any promotion that we do for the event. And like I said, we normally get some pretty big volunteer groups that come, Trade People, Whole Foods, Fox News, all these things like that. So
events,
yeah, they're pretty high funding is coming up.
So
I think, yeah, if there was a choice, I would try to contribute at the earlier stage of the cycle to either the sprinkler system or the soil, because those are the first things that go in. Once the project gets underway, soil test is done, then, you know, sprinkler system or the soil.
well, how about, do you want to move the sprinkler system?
I would, you know, I think that's.
All right, so is there a second on the, it's 680 for the sprinklers.
Again, I'm going to go back to the same issue. The cost of the project already is here, but that is based on the contingency also that the soil report comes back negative. Okay. So my only issue with this is earmarking again for something that may have to do with a permanent ground patch that deals with the soil report. Because unless the project could be changed, you know, you have a contingency can come back and say, well, you know what, soil is no good. So we'll build up above ground garden instead. We could use the funds for that. I would agree with that part, but again, I wouldn't put exactly the sprinkler because we don't know if the upper ground will use it or not.
But it's a drip system.
Yeah.
It probably goes after.
On top.
Yeah.
But whatever the amount is, I would go with it because it's a worldwide project. But I would like to tie it in again to restrain your hand that if you decide not to build because the soil goes back.
But how much are you going to have?
Well, no, here's I think what we can figure out. It's going to be above drip. It's like an underground sprinkler, right? It's above ground drip soil system.
We do install some underground sprinkler system. Of course, if soil tests come back unsuccessful, which at this point they never have at any of our schools, we are still building the raised beds. We have done before above ground raised beds, and those would definitely work.
Let me ask you this, Shauna. Mm-hmm. In the system that's envisioned currently, will there be at least 1 or 2 barrels for a drip system?
Yes.
Okay. Because what I'm looking at, members, is for our logo to go on one of those barrels. It says, you know, sponsored by the Native Council. We can spray paint it or paint it or whatever. So as long as there's 1 or 2 barrels that in the drip system you gotta have, these 55-gallon barrels, to drip, that's well worth your money because we can put the Native Council logo on it. And so the only thing that I also wanted to do is that I would hope that by June 15th, we would have a better sense of the soil test, and that's going to be, the cost is going to be borne by the school district and it's going to happen. Because that's not necessarily, as Jocelyn mentioned, that's not an elaborate process, just going in and taking some sampling and analyzing it. Mm-hmm. So what I will do is take Mr. Churro's concerns and say, look, if by June 15th, this project's not going to happen on August 3rd, because there's a little window there, June 15th to August 3rd, then we would look to probably use the money somewhere else if it's not going to happen. But I totally feel comfortable supporting the sprinklers, given that we can put our name on the barrels and we'll be helping with that part of it. And if down the road, through our new budgetary process, there's more money allocated, and that we'll have to wait and see. But it all depends on how much money we get from the city as well. So then what I would do is second Ms. Gabriel Rosenthal's motion for the neighborhood council to help sponsor the sprinklers. And I would, instead of 68, I probably would round it up to 700. I don't know the taxes or this is the final I think we just we have a round number to 700, if that's okay. And then based on the soils test coming back that it's above, it's okay. With the understanding that if there are above ground barrels, that the neighborhood council would have an opportunity to put a little on.
Of course, and regardless of the barrels, having some signage at, permanently at the school with the neighborhood council logo on it would be fine. Obviously, we would love to promote that you're supporting the garden and the community, so.
Right. Okay. So, so that's the motion before us. Is there any objection to moving that to the board? Seeing none, okay, so then I'll work, you know what, do me a favor, I'll give you my card, and you can email me, and then I'll work with you so we can put together a little more specific memo on this, and then that will give it to the board. So just go ahead and email me.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. So that's the order. So we'll do $700 towards the sprinkler system. Okay, members, item number 2. Thank you, Sean. Item number 2 is discussion and or possible request for the board, for the committee to recommend the board approve the allocations already in our budget in the amount of $250 for GEPENC's participation in the Echo Park Art Walk, which is scheduled for May 19th, 2012, and it's line item 2010-2005 on that budget. So this, I ran into some of the organizers last week at the EPIA cleanup. We talked about the funding. And again, this is another item that I anticipated Heather Mendoza, who is the organizer, to come by and share with us. But it's an event that's been going on for a couple of years now, I believe, third year. And the idea is to put together a community day along with the Park Avenue with shops and art and music. And so it's a great event, and this is a small amount of money that we can contribute towards that. Is there any public comment on item number 2? Yes.
Well, it's a general comment which will cover the others. As I understand,
we're on item number 2. So
well, why don't you listen to what I have to say
we're on
first?
item number 2. Look, I saw you at EPIA meeting the other day, and you were very respectful of the process.
Yeah, well, come on, let's move it.
And I request the same courtesy.
The comment I made will cover the other items because, as I understand, when the budget is presented for each of these requests, it's a global number. As I understand it, each person, for example, the school gardens, presented a breakdown in terms of what the amounts were for each type of thing. The confusion began with yours because you said 500. Well, what does that cover? And usually it had been each item was designated so we could see where the 500, or whether it's 250 or 1,000 or whatever, doesn't matter. Where is it specifically going within the request? And I'm suggesting that each one of these should have had that.
Thank you.
And that's the point.
Well, please stick to the agenda items, and then we'll have a better process. Okay, any other public comments? Yes, Mr. Talalla. Specifically on number 2, the Art Walk plan.
Yes, I certainly. I'd like to, while it will be specific, I would like to have a preamble and introduction to what I'm asking. One, I believe that what stakeholders have to say does not have to be edited prior to their stating it. And I think Issa K is sufficiently informed in this community and understands issues far more than most people, and should be given the opportunity to say what she has to say. This is a precious 2 minutes that stakeholders have. They have very little recourse beyond that. Secondly, again, there is no information. I would also like to state that in terms of the Arlo Guthrie picnic, you are talking about food.
We are on item number 2. Let me hold your time. I respect what people have to say, whether I agree with it or not, but there has to be a sense of mutual respect. I've gone to other committee meetings or whatever they're called, and there's no outbursts, there's respect conduct, and I would hope that the neighborhood council have the same thing. Do I agree whether Ms. Bexa knows everything or not? Maybe. I don't know, that's good. But I also would request that if we're talking about a specific item, that we stated that. On our agenda, we have public comments about a specific item, and we stated that. On our agenda, we have public comments. The only person who got up and said anything about anything was Ms. Madsen on public comment. Fine. She talk about the weather. She can talk about whether I should wear a better shirt or whatever that's not on the agenda. But when we get to these items, I hope that it's respectful to be focused on. And you guys all know the process. When you go to city council, if you go before the council, if you go before board neighborhood commissioners, as you do, Ms. Talalla and others, they give you 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever. There is no back and forth with the comments and the speakers. It's a process. We're trying to be respectful as much as possible to get everybody's point of view. And all I ask is for the same respect. So, thank you.
I am here to make my comments, and they are very pertinent to what is being said.
We're on item number 2, art walk. Funding.
Are you going to let me finish, or are you going to disrupt me? Because disrupting me is disrespectful.
Please proceed.
I also would like to say that essentially we lack information here. And it's very hard not to have this information. Also, you bring up things that are not on the agenda marked specifically as such that would have people here supporting it. I also think you'll make changes on the amounts and discuss things in detail.
Thank you very
and
much.
don't allow us a second time to comment on
Thank
it.
you very much.
This is totally unfair.
There is one public comment, it's open and it's closed, and that's it. Any other public comments? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Members, we have this item before us. Again, we're anticipating Ms. Mendoza to be able to share with us some information about her event. It is scheduled for May 19th. Again, we have supported her in the past, and she has shared information about the neighborhood council on her logo and her logo on the flyers. And this is just for general support of the event. So it's 40 for discussion. Mr. Charlie.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, specifically today I'm going to address this item, item number 2, but I'm again going to make these comments clearly here today. You know, I've been considering sometimes resigning from a committee or resigning from the whole board because one person in this community does not make up the whole community. When I hear public comment about the experience of members of the community, that's one person out of a million. It's good to have that. But we have an open process. And I want to state this because I know I'm being recorded. And because of that, I'm going to say it this way. The public process is you place an agenda item there. You give them 3 or 2 minutes for the comments. That's not the only avenue. If these people think that in 2 minutes they can't address it, I'll be up to it to see them come in that time when they give public comment and give me a letter, even if it's 10 pages long, with opposition or support of whatever they want to say that could not be said in 2 minutes. That's the purview of the process. Whether you like it or not, it's a process. I would like to answer some of the public comment, but we are constrained not to do that because it makes a back and forth. And even though the discussion after hearing from the public, because that's the way you make decisions. If item 2, which is here, somebody came up and gave me 100 signatures on a letter saying we oppose it, it may change my mind. It may change my mind. But if it's only one person speaking against it, and I know that out there in the community, there's a broader consensus, not because this person comes to the meeting every time and records every time, That's not what I'm going to make my decision on. I respect Ms. Mixon's involvement in the community, but hers is not the only one in this community. Yours is, his is, the other people are, schools are. So I make my intelligent decision by looking at these things like that. So it hurts me when they don't want to follow the process that we put out there. Because what it does is tell me, you know what? If you do good, damn you. And if you do bad, damn you. I just want to get rid of you. But guess what? For me, it goes through here and comes through here. And I hope it's being recorded that way so they can put it on YouTube as they usually do. But guess what? One person doesn't make a difference unless that one person can convince me that what I'm doing is wrong. But today, the artwork has been going on for a while. Again, I don't see a specific document, and this is between us, the committee members, Mr. Zento here, for instance. I don't see it. I feel hard in not approving it. But guess what? It's something of the community that's been going on. I will earmark it, yes. Keep it there. When they bring in the documentation and say this here, go ahead with it. That way we don't lose the precious time of having to come back or continue it or doing anything. But so be it. Because maybe at the next meeting, 20 persons come in that want the art wall against one that opposes it. And I'm going to go with the 20. Because 20 votes is more than one, if it's right.
Right, members, so here's the decision. We have this item before us. It's for an event that's been established, been pretty successful. The money is there to support it in general. And so we have before us a choice if we want to move it as is, or we want to move it on stipulation that Ms. Mendoza put together something for the board, or bring it back, so those are some of the options. So at this point, I would defer to you guys to see what we want to do with that.
If it's there, I would earmark it, and
it's already in our line item budget as something that we discussed back in May when we talked to Ms. Mendoza about it. So it's already a line item in our
May
budget.
of last year.
Last year we put together the budget. So this budget was adopted in June of last year. So it is
It's already a line item.
It's already a line item.
So again, this is more, my comment is more pertinent, because why do we even have to discuss it here if it was already discussed by the board? And then let me finish by saying, if the board did discuss it and put it as a line item, then I support it. That's if this is part of the process, it's necessary, I'll support it.
Well, yeah, so that was in the
That's fine.
line item. Okay.
It's not a new item.
No, it's not a new one. So, Ms. Churro, you move it?
Yes.
Ms. Diago will second it, because that's fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what we'll do, members, here's what I'll do. I'll reach out to Ms. Mendoza and some of the other folks that are working on this, and then make sure that there is at least a memo on how this was helpful in terms of doing outreach for the board. Okay, is there any objection then? All right, moving forward, then it'll be 3-0. Okay, members, we have, let's see, we have about 15 minutes before the next committee will come in. So we have items 3, 4, and 5 that are monetary issues. I don't have any information for item number 4, which is something that Mr. Churro asked to be on the agenda about a mural. Nobody's here for that. Captain Murphy is looking to raise funding for his youth programs in Northeast. So there was a request. I don't see a woman here today. So I don't think there's any urgency on that one. Deadlines. Number 5, we do have it. I was hoping that Mr. Pandak would be here today to talk about the Lotus Festival, which I believe has been going on for 32 years or something. So it's a staple of the community. They are looking to do it here in the parking lots because the lake is closed. That's not till July, so I mean, if we want to continue it to next month, we can do so as well.
3, 4, and 5.
So, all right.
3, 4, and 5.
Well, let's continue then 3, 4, and 5 to May. and then we'll work on getting some more specifics on that.
Yeah, they can come and
Right.
present or send something.
Yeah, I know Mr. Pandek does a lot of traffic. So.
Or you can send something.
Yeah, all right, so then, but I would like to focus, number 7, we can continue, that's an ongoing, that's something we've already done, so we'll continue number 7 as well in May. But what I'd like to do is focus so we're going to move on to item number 6, a discussion and or possible action on the request for the committee to schedule 2 town hall meetings, one on a weekday and one for a weekend, as directed by the board, to solicit input from stakeholders regarding the development of draft Neighborhood Council 2012-2013 fiscal year Neighborhoods Council City Budget. Okay, so we'll move that for discussion. Ms. Gaga Rosenthal
Yeah.
and Mr. Churro. Is there any public comment on item number 6? Public comment on item number 6. Ms. Talalla.
I'd like the timeline on this and what y'all are going to do in terms of outreach to get the information out, and also the posting on the webpage as to this availability of funds and how y'all intend to appropriate it or allocate it.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Public body to be closed. Members, let me just sort of quickly describe the process, working backwards. We have instituted in our bylaws that this neighborhood council has to adopt its budget by June the 10th. That is the day that we have to have a board-approved budget. Although done gives us till July 15 to submit a budget, we have chosen to June 10th is our date. The mayor is going to be announcing his budget, what he feels is necessary to move the business of the city forward, which includes the neighborhood council system, on April the 20th. Friday, April the 20th, the mayor will be publicly releasing his budget. I have the honor of serving as the vice chair of the budget advocates for the entire city neighborhood council system, and we've met with the mayor. I met with the mayor a couple of weeks ago. We've talked to him about what we think are priorities for funding. The mayor has shared with us that he is very interested in continuing to support the neighborhood council system. He wouldn't commit to a number, but he definitely does not agree with Miguel Santana's recommendation to cut his number to $25,000. So I can tell you that our neighborhood council funding is going to be somewhere between $30,000 to $40,000. That's my guess. But the mayor will obviously decide, if he hasn't decided now what that's going to be. So those are the 2 key deadlines, dates. So what we're anticipating, and I've talked to Mr. Moreno about this and I shared this at the board meeting, was that we would look to have a town hall the week of either April 30th or the week of April 23rd or the 30th to do our town hall, one on probably a Saturday and one on probably a Thursday, Wednesday evening, whatever works out. And the idea would be to let people know to come and share with us what they think are important projects that the neighborhood council can support. In the past, I've asked every board member to put together their own budget if they so desire to do so. I have taken the task of knowing how much money we have and just putting together a budget where we know we fund our schools every year, we fund our libraries every year, we support our rec centers.
Yeah.
So there's a number of things that we do every year. And then I put together a recommended line item budget, and then we present it and people provide us input. And so we're going to use these 2 town halls to get that input. Our goal is to have a special board meeting on the week of May the 7th so we can discuss the budget and then look at what we have to spend to reallocate it in anticipation that by the end of May, which is May the 28th, at the board meeting, we adopt our budget.
Well, what is the issue that we're discussing here? Is it
Just getting the dates,
process,
the process
or
and the
is it
dates.
funding for the town hall?
No. What we're discussing here is that this committee has been tasked with doing the town halls. So they're going to actually be special meetings of this committee.
I see.
So
Okay,
that,
that's the issue.
that's the issue.
Is that we are responsible, we're like spearheading.
Yeah, so the board asked this committee to be the lead on that. So what I need to talk to from you guys is what are some dates? What are some
the
dates?
energy to.
Well, basically all we're doing is having a special meeting with one thing on the agenda. That is the development of a draft budget for the neighborhood council for next year. And then people will come in and say, you know what, we know you're getting $30,000, we'd like you to spend on $30,000 in gardens. Or spend $30,000 on cleanups, or spend $5,000 on whatever. We take that input and then we decide whether it's a good idea or not, and then we develop a budget.
Who's, the finance committee makes that first
That'll be,
prioritization? We're the ones that.
Well, we're going to recommend to the board what the budget
Well,
should
but
be.
that's basically prioritization.
Exactly. And then the board can take it or substitute it or whatever. So that's what we're discussing today is the recommendation that the week of either April the 23rd, which is not too far away, or April the 30th, which leads into May 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, we designate one of those weeks where we have the meeting. For example, we may even want to do it on May the 12th, and use that Saturday before the special meeting on the 15th as our final date. I know
We can do it here.
We can do it here, we can do it at the library, wherever we think is appropriate. And then, because I know Cinco de Mayo, there's a lot of different events going on, especially given this big anniversary.
Right.
And so, we could do it on the 28th, I don't be wrong, but the 5th, the 12th, and then maybe May 2nd or 3rd with May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
This is contingent with the major announcement anyhow.
Yeah.
And I have three phases: the amount known, the meetings that we do, and then the approval of the committee referred on to the board. The outreach is the most important, and this is where again I touch on issues that I just touched today. For instance, let's say Enrique knows that we're going to prepare a budget for next year, and they may have different projects in the area. It is good that they have noticed that they can come to this meeting. They could put up a budget of $100,000. If we don't get it, that's fine. But if they can convince me that I can fund at least 1% of that budget that they present to us because it's worthwhile, then I'll go with it. But you convince me that it's something that's being done. Now, this year I'll be looking also as a, because we have a template anyhow of how we fund. I'll be looking at those continuous funding that we are doing, if they're hearing the results that we want, because we could also look to change the pattern and go to another avenue. Some people may not like that, it doesn't matter. But I am looking at things that we can do with the neighborhood. You know, it's been great. It looks like we're a mini council anyhow. We're a mini council with a mini budget. Very, very mini, which I would like to do the graffiti, I would like to fund gardens, I'd like to do the library. We can't do all of it. But I would like the stakeholders also to understand that if we got 40,000 and we could give at least, there's 40 projects and we could give at least $10 to each of them, that's what we can give. I mean, we would like to give more. And on top of that, if we can fundraise to help them in other avenues other than our budget. But again, it takes respect and commitment. I hate to hear when I'm sitting here behind the table, these, it's their purview. They can slap me in the face if they want to, because as a public person here, that's the way it is. But it hates for me to sit down here. And when I see, for instance, the two ladies that are sitting on the end come with these projects and they want to see funding, and they present it in a constructive way, they may convince me to go with the projects. And then when I hear from others, instead of lifting up my spirit, they're only slapping me around and telling me, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. But they don't come up with a project like these to say, do this or do that. It makes me come back again to what I'm doing here, you know.
Well,
Okay.
you know, I
So
think
I want to go with the, let's get the amount first. We know what the amount. We have a template. Let's send that template out off, see where, in what area they can do it. Look for the dates where we can have the input. And let's try to make that part broad. See that it's not only the person from the top that is coming down to us only, but everyone in the
how
world.
is the outreach going to be done?
Well, here's what we've done in the past. Because I'm going to recommend that we do May 2nd and May 12th. Those are the special meetings of this committee to focus on the budget. What we've done in the past, we've had people come out to the Echo Park Library, to the Ida Library, where we explain the budget. So we've done flyers. We've done flyers.
My question is, how do you do outreach so you have as wide a participation?
Well, we're hoping that as soon as we approve this today, that we can get the word out. And May 2nd at 6 o'clock and May 12th at 10 a.m. we're going to have special meetings on the budget. We get the word out. We
And
get the
so
local press.
I would like to say,
Yeah.
that this is my appeal to the stakeholders that are here today to please give your ideas about how to reach out to the broad cross-section of the community to make these town hall meetings as successful as possible. It's labor intensive, and so what happens usually is, you know, we put all the work, and I've been there. After doing the work in the best way I thought how, I get criticized and, you know, like figuratively slapped around. And my appeal is to the community that's here today to please, it's a partnership, okay? I'm not sitting here because I'm being paid. I have hundreds of other things I could be doing, but I'm doing here as a community servant, just as the stakeholders are community servants. So I don't want to hear this thing about I'm serving the community, because we're all serving the community. So I hope for your participation in giving us good ideas about how we can outreach to the community.
So what we'll do then, members, is to finish up our budget committee meeting. Then the recommendation would be that this committee hold 2 special meetings with just one agenda item, which is the budget development for next year, on Wednesday, May 2nd at 6 p.m. and Saturday, May 12th at 10 a.m. We can do them here in the office, and that we get the word out.
Because then you can put a big sign
Right,
out there
yeah.
and say on those dates, come here.
And Jocelyn, in the past, what we've done is we use like a little one-pager that we get out to people, and they'll say, well, we're within Rich LA. I'll give you guys an example. We're within Rich LA. This is our project description for the Garden of Logan. This is our budget, $5,000, and this is how the neighbor council get outreach now. So we do have that form that we can get out, and hopefully as many people as possible will fill it out beforehand, and it gives us a better idea, so we can have that discussion. We'll include that as well. All right, so then if there's no objection, then we'll move to have the 2 special meetings as presented, and this doesn't require a board approval because they've already asked us to do it. So then I'll talk to Mr. Moreno, and then we'll schedule those meetings and get the word out. Okay, then what we'll do, members, since our time is up, then item number 9 and number 8 will continue. Mr. Moreno has been working with AAA to try to get our invoices back, so we'll continue that item. So we're going to be continuing item 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9 tonight. There's no objection. Okay? All right, so any announcements? None? Okay, then Mr. Churro will move, and Ms. Diego will second to adjourn at 10:58. My understanding is there's going to be a the Public Safety Outreach Committee Concerns Committee at 11. So they should be arriving. Thank you for helping join us. Right, so we are adjourned to next month.